In 1913, Carl Jung lost his mind, or at least that is what it looked like from the outside. He had just broken from Sigmund Freud, the man who had been his mentor, his father figure, his ticket into history. The break was public, bitter, and total. Jung resigned from the presidency of the psychoanalytic movement he had helped build. Colleagues who once admired him began to whisper that he had gone unstable. And then came the visions. Jung started seeing things, waking visions of Europe drowning in blood, of bodies floating in a flooded continent, of a great catastrophe swallowing the world whole. He wrote them down. He assumed for a while that he was simply losing his grip on reality. Then, in the summer of 1914, the First World War broke out, and Jung realized his visions had not been madness. They had been a kind of knowing that arrived before the mind could explain itself. But here is the part of the story that matters most, the part almost nobody tells. Jung did not try to escape what was happening to him. He did not medicate it away, distract himself from it, or wait for it to pass. He turned toward it. Every day he sat down and let the images come. He spoke to the figures in his visions as if they were real. He drew what he saw. He wrote it all into a book, bound in red leather, a private manuscript that would later become known as the Red Book. For years, this was his only real work. Not lectures, not patience. Just this descent, done on purpose, into the parts of himself he did not understand. This is where Jung's real antidote to tragedy begins. Not in avoiding pain, but in what he called active imagination, the discipline of meeting your own darkness face to face instead of running from it. Most of us are taught the opposite. When something devastating happens, a loss, a betrayal, a diagnosis, a failure we cannot undo, the instinct is to seal it off. Get back to normal. Stay busy. Do not look directly at it. Jung believed this instinct, however understandable, is exactly what turns pain into something worse. He had a phrase for what happens when we refuse to face what is difficult in us. He said that what we do not bring to consciousness appears in our lives as fate. In other words, the wound does not vanish because we ignore it. It goes underground, and it starts driving the car without our permission. Jung called this hidden, disowned material the shadow. Not evil, exactly, just everything about ourselves and our experience that we have decided is unacceptable to look at. Grief we were told to get over, rage we were told was unbecoming, weakness we were taught to hide. The shadow is not the enemy. It is simply the part of the story we amputated in order to seem fine. And this is where his idea becomes genuinely useful, not just historically interesting. Jung did not believe the goal of a difficult life was to return to who you were before the tragedy. He thought that goal was actually a trap. The people who try hardest to go back to normal after devastation are often the ones who suffer longest, because they are fighting the transformation instead of undergoing it. Jung's word for the alternative was individuation, the slow, often unglamorous process of becoming a fuller, more complete version of yourself by integrating the very things that broke you. He drew a lot of this from alchemy, an interest that made him a target of ridicule for years. But he was not interested in alchemists because he thought they could turn lead into gold. He was interested in them because their central image was a metaphor he found nowhere else. Base, worthless material, transformed through fire and pressure into something valuable, not despite the ordeal, but because of it. Jung thought the human psyche worked the same way. The tragedy is the raw material. The suffering is the fire. What comes out the other side, if you do not run from the process, is not the same person with the wound patched over. It is someone genuinely new. This is not the same as saying everything happens for a reason, a phrase Jung would have distrusted. He was not offering comfort through fate. He was offering something closer to a method. Sit with what hurts. Give it form through writing, through image, through conversation with a therapist, or simply with yourself. Ask what it wants, what it is trying to tell you, rather than only asking how to make it stop. He believed that neurosis, that persistent, low-grade suffering so many people carry without being able to name, is very often what he called the suffering of a soul that has not yet found its meaning. Not meaning imposed from outside, meaning excavated from the inside, out of the very thing you are trying to avoid.